The program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's a very cloudy, overcast day. The Impala are still bounding about, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another sunless sunrise safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Craig. And we are bringing you a live and interactive safari, so we hope to hear from you. So if you have any questions for us, or perhaps you heard something interesting on the dam cam last night, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and it'll be great to have a chat with you. But it isn't just me driving around this morning. We've got many feeds today. Tristan, of course, is out with Sebastian in the Sabi Sands, and then Scott and James should be joining us from the Mara. So you'll see their familiar faces, and I'm sure you're excited to see their faces and ask them lots of questions too. We're excited to have them on board as well, and we hope that they're well rested after the fantastic show that they put out. It was really a great way to start the series. Now, who have we got here? There's a couple of Impala moving around, which is no surprise to see up on quarantine in the middle. Oh, well, they would have rested there for most of the evening, maybe nibbled a bit. We've got a youngster here. Young ram. I was about to say I thought it was on its own, Craig, and then I looked across the road and realized that there was an entire herd actually standing opposite this Impala. I'd missed them. It's just because the light is so tricky at the moment, it made it virtually impossible to see them. But they also were standing quite still. So they're moving just up from the drainage line. Maybe they're going to head back towards where the dam is. Yeah, Vuyatela Dam. You might see these Impala again on a little bit later. But there was lots and lots of noises last night that kept me wide awake, from lions roaring, leopards soaring, hyenas whooping, and annoying us in camp. They were there for about an hour. There was one male hyena that was so persistent, he kept coming back. No, don't be scared, Impala. It's just me. I'm just going to go past very quickly. Well, I'll go past very slowly, not to give you a fright. Just sneak past, and they're all looking at us now. I'm feeling lots of pressure from the Impala. Don't panic, we're not going to eat you. Okay, off they go. Right, so I don't know where any of the animals are. We did hear it sounded like a contact call. Let's turn my radio on very quickly. And Herbie's actually out tracking with us. And he said he can also hear the lions still calling, but it sounds like it's more like contact calls, if anything, of the lionesses now later on in the day. Tristan and Herbie seem to be working a plan. They're going to be checking sort of just east of the lodge. Herbie's going to go all the way and do the northern boundary, Buffels Hook. I'm going to go down this way. I'm going to try and pick up on those leopard tracks and see who was soaring. Maybe we can find them. I'll also check down around Twin Dams and all the other areas to see if any other leopards have. Maybe Shadow will be out and about today. It's going to be a good day for any of the cats to be up and active. It's not too freezing cold. It's actually quite pleasant, but also it's overcast and cloudy, so they might keep moving around for a bit longer today. Let's hope. Although the Nguhumas yesterday were moving during the heat of the day and on one of the hottest days we've had. So it just shows you, when you're hungry, you'll move around at any time. It won't stop you. Yeah, I think we'll go straight down Weaver's Nest to start off with. Right, or should I start saying radio again? Megan, I think you've actually picked up the radio thing from me, because you start to say it now as well. Amazing how our catchphrases pass on to our teammates. Anyways, we're going to keep bumbling down Weaver's Nest, and hopefully we'll pick up on some tracks of one of the animals that were making a bit of noise. And while we search, I'm going to send you across to Tristan so he can say good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our sunrise safari, and welcome to a very sort of grey, overcast day. It should be a wonderful morning, though, because there's lots of potential in the air from all the sounds that Taylor heard last night. Hopefully, we will be able to find some of them. Now, as Taylor said, my name is Tristan, and on camera today, I've got Sebastian. Hello, Sebastian. Sorry, I had to just make 100% sure there for a second. I don't know why. But Sebastian is on camera with me this morning. And remember, this is live and interactive, which means that you can get hold of us on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Now, we're in the area where the Nkuhumas were last night. We've heard them calling during the night. It sounds like they're just east of the camp somewhere. So I'm trying to find tracks of these lions. No, so far nothing that I can see. It seems like, from what I can gather, that they might have crossed somewhere around Mvubu, and I might have missed the tracks. When the light is like it is now, it is really not very easy to actually see the tracks, because we kind of don't have enough light to actually see the roads nicely. We need a bit of light to create a bit of contrast on the track, and it becomes quite difficult. The nice thing, though, with the Nkuhumas is that there's a lot of them, so hopefully if they did walk on the road, I will be able to see their tracks fairly easily. And where we are now, at least the road is nice and soft. Back there it was a little bit hard. So Mita, who's 8 years old, hello Mita, you want to know if it's rainy this morning and if that could affect the tracks. Well, Mita, it's not raining, it's just overcast. Oh, windy, sorry. You said windy. No, it's not windy this morning, Rita. Not like yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon was very windy, and that would have definitely affected the tracks, because when wind blows, it blows sand onto the tracks and it destroys the edges of the tracks a little bit, and that makes it a lot harder to actually see them. So if it was windy, it would definitely destroy the tracks a little bit, but at this stage, no, it's not windy at all. It's quite calm and pleasant, and so we should be able to find the tracks fairly easily. But we do know that it was windy up until about sort of 12 o'clock last night. It was still blowing quite a lot, and so we'll have to just check out and make sure that there aren't any tracks in that area from last night, and if they are from last night, we'll know when they are because of the wind that is blowing. Now, it sounds like between Taylor and Herbie, they've already found tracks for one male lion, which is very good news. Hopefully he's around and somewhere in this area, and they can then try and find him. But we've been a little less fortunate. No tracks for us yet, but I'm sure we'll find them. Like I say, it's a big pride, so, you know, when there's 44 sets of feet, you should be able to spot one of them. Jasjet, you're wondering how far we can hear a lion calling from the camp. Well, it depends on whether it's male or female. Males will carry a little bit larger. They've got a bigger lung capacity and therefore can produce a bigger sound. So it just depends on them. No, that's hyenas. It also depends on the lie of the land. So if you've got a lot of mountainous areas or big deep drainage lines and they're calling from in there, then you get obstructions and also the vegetation. But theoretically, in terms of what is possible, they reckon that we can hear a lion from about 5 kilometers on average, and sometimes as much as 7 if the conditions are right. So that gives you an idea of just how far they can be heard from. It's a very, very big sound that they produce, and one that you can hear from a long way away. But this morning, the sound that we heard just before we got going, when we were at the cars, and Taylor, myself and Seb and Craig were chatting, and we could hear it. It didn't sound like very far, but it also didn't sound like a full-blooded roar. It sounded like one of the females contact calling, and Taylor was telling me that yesterday there was only 4 females, not 5, and so maybe it's the one that's just trying to communicate with the others. And then Herbie said he heard them just now calling from the eastern side of the lodge somewhere. So I did check that side, no tracks that I can see, but I just want to check Gallagher shortcuts. If there's nothing here, I'm going to do the Buffelshoek boundary all the way along, just to make sure that they haven't crossed out while we've been sort of driving in this area. We know the Nkuhumas like to move around even throughout the day, and so you often find you've driven and then their tracks come behind you and cross out. So you just need to make 100% sure. so far nothing that I can see, which means that if they aren't out on this next road, that they must still be somewhere where Taylor left them. So somewhere in this area on our left is where Taylor lost them last night, and if they haven't come out, well, then it means that they're still probably sleeping. Maybe they hunkered down for the night, being given that it was cold and windy, and they just settled there until this morning, where hopefully they'll get moving. Now, Wendy's turning circle is about that of the Titanic, and we know how the Titanic ended, so please excuse me while I just try and get around this corner. There we go. So, Birdie from Georgia, you want to know if I'm drinking rooibos tea and if I harvested it myself. Well, no, I didn't harvest it myself. That probably requires quite a lot of effort, and I actually don't even know where the nearest rooibos plantation would be. Also, I wasn't drinking rooibos tea, I was drinking green tea, so it was green tea that I had, and rooibos every now and then, but mostly green tea is what I drink, so that is what I had. Oh, there's a little Steenbok. Are you going to stop for us? Hopefully it will. So there's our little Steenbok, a beautiful female, and is doing what a typical Steenbok does, and that is to try and run away. I'm going to try and sneak forward a little bit, see if we can't get it on camera again. Now, we have to look out because there might be a male here as well. There it is. It behind the termite mound? Let's try go back then. So Seb has spotted the male. The female has bolted over the roads. Now there's the male there. Are you going to stay still for us? Hopefully. He's busy watching where his female has run away, but there you can see the male with those big horns for a Steenbok. Now, they don't look very big in terms of other animals, but for a Steenbok, those are rather large, and they'll use those then to compete for females when they have to. But look, he's watched where his female has run, and see how he uses those massive ears to listen to what's going on. I actually really like Steenbok. They're an animal that's so overlooked at times because of their size, and well, they do camouflage very well. Look at the color of the grass and look at that Steenbok. Can you imagine if that animal lay down, how difficult it would be for us to be able to see it? And so I really like them. They've got lots of fascinating little things about them, from the fact that they are monogamous and they find these females and they try and mate for life if they can. Then, you know, that's quite an interesting situation in comparison to things like impalas that just tend to be a free-for-all if they can help it. In that, and then the fact that because they're small animals and they're territorial, they will have an interesting way that they defecate. Steenbok are actually, unlike a lot of the other animals that leave big obvious middens, Steenbok will dig out their midden and they'll try and make sure that they defecate inside a little hole and then they cover it up again, and that's to try and just sort of cover that scent so that things like leopard and cheetah and wild dogs, when they're hunting these animals, can't smell them and then find them using smell. So it's quite an interesting little way of doing things. Now, still no sign of any of the Nkahuma pride, so we'll just do another big loop on the boundary and then come back this way. And if there's no sign there, then hopefully they'll be where Taylor left them last night. Although I do see tracks in the middle of the road, which I'm going to have a little quick look at. And while I do that, and talking of Taylor, she's arrived at Twin Dam, so let's go across to her and see what her update is.
I have not got an update for you just yet. We're just driving around looking for tracks. We've seen a set of male lion tracks. They look like they were from quite late last night. And what Craig and I have been discussing is, we were saying, imagine being an animal and not really worrying about anything, like sort of being able to go for a wallow, cover yourself in mud, and well, so what if you're dirty? I don't think I could be an animal though. I'm way too OCD. I'd be so paranoid. So that's been Craig and my discussion for the morning so far. How would you like? What would you think it must be like to be an animal and not really worry about anything? You can hashtag Safari Live with your thoughts if you'd like to participate in that conversation. It would be quite cool though. Maybe I'd be able to do that for a day, but I don't think I'd be able to do it for any longer. Now we're on Ari Main. We're going through the Mulwati now. This is the area that Hosanna likes to cross. So we'll just check very carefully and see if we can see any footprints. But I haven't seen any footprints just yet. It still seems to be very quiet. No birds alarming, no parlor shouting. I think we're just looking in the wrong spots. Sometimes I worry about myself. Right, let's check here. Let's hope we're going to get Hosana doing the same thing the other. It's going to be perfect. Leopard? No. That's disappointing. Nothing on either side. Right up we go. Craig, maybe we must check cheetah cut line, or we'll see if we can more tracks up. Buffalo tracks. Hello Kobe, who's only 15 years old, one of our younger viewers as well. Your question this morning is, who names the cars? I think Graham does. Maybe Graham? I don't know who named, I can't even remember who actually named the Kenyan cars. I think maybe that was a group effort. So basically the team gets to name them, but I think it depends who's here and who's around and who comes up with the best name. Maybe that's got something to do with it, but there's no sort of naming procedure that goes on with the vehicles. That's just the animals. So lots of Impala about this morning, so definitely lots of things for the leopards and lions to potentially catch. But we just aren't in the right spots. This is very frustrating. I wonder what's going to happen on Chitwa this morning. Maybe I must bounce to the eastern channel quickly and see if they've got an update for me on that side. Seem to have quite a bit of luck in the east with leopards often. We'll just see. Yeah, this is another spot we often see the leopards popping out around here. Tundi likes it around here, so that means Tumble will like it around here too. And then Hosana and Xongile also seem to come all the way up here. Not a footprint, not even of a hyena up this way. We really are looking in the wrong areas. I must apologize for my bad judgment this morning. I'm just going to show you all the Impala of the Sabi sands today. That might be the only animal I'll be able to show everyone. Ooh, no, here we go. The eastern channel is awake now. We're going to see if we can get hold of anyone. Morning stations, is there any updates for the east? No. Well, we'll just hope that we can bump into a car and try and get an update. It seems as though the radio in the east is not working. No. No, can't hear them. Okay, well that was unfortunate. We'll try again later. There's a car behind us, but I'll pull off the road in just a moment, just up here, because I don't want them to squash my tracks. I'm not letting any civilian vehicle drive over my leopard or lion, potential leopard or lion tracks this morning. They'll just have to be slightly patient on the game drive roads. Oh, there's some Waterbuck. We can go and look at the Waterbuck. No leopard tracks there. Hyena. There's a hyena walking here though. Where's our Waterbuck gone? Well, there's a group of Waterbuck that normally roam around here, and they've got little ones, but these ones don't seem to have calves. There's one, there was two, but the other one I think is standing behind the bush willow. But there's two species of animals there, Waterbuck and a crested francolin, just feeding at its feet. Very busy, looking for all sorts of tasty morsels. Oh, look at the, are those ticks on that Waterbuck's leg, or is it just open patches of hair? Actually, here's a nice example to look at their false hooves. Can you see that? Just as it walks away, you can see those things bulging just from above the hoof. Those are false hooves, and sometimes in the mud you can see them in a Waterbuck's track. But buffalo and warthogs have got very, very good examples of false hooves, and that's another way you can try and identify the various animals, is by that. I haven't decided if I'm going to actually go all the way onto Chitwa just yet, because like I said, I haven't seen any tracks to follow in, and I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to go this way around. Megan, are you still there? Pretty quiet and final control today. I was just wondering where Megan was. Maybe she thought she'd maybe run off to make a cup of coffee quickly. she didn't. She was just sitting there. Right, we're going to keep searching. It doesn't seem like we're having much luck down this end of the reserve, so perhaps the cats are still inside the property. We're going to go back across to Tristan, who's searching for the Nkuhumas. Let's see if he can find them, because they gave me a slip yesterday.
Well, Taylor, so far, no. I've got no sign of them. There's lots of tracks on the road, but these are all old tracks. There's none of these are fresh. They're from a few days ago well, looks like maybe 2 days ago that they walked around here, because lots of vehicle tracks on top of them, and you could see where the guys were turning and moving. So I don't think these are the fresh ones. Now, there are different sort of sets here, and I'm going to have to pay attention, because some of them might be fresher than others, but there's definitely, if you look in the middle of the road here, and I'll go back, Seb, because it's going to be better if I go back a little bit, is where there are very fresh ones. Well, not very fresh ones, but there are lots of them. So you see there, those are the footprints that I'm talking about, but the vehicles seem to have gone over the top of them, which would tend to suggest that they are from yesterday, not from this morning at all, because this boundary road, even though it is busy, I would be very surprised if this number of cars are driven over it. You can see on the edges of those tracks how smooth it is, and lots of vehicle tracks. So these are from a few days ago, and I wonder if this is not from when they came in the other day. Seb, do you know where they came in from the other day? Be interesting to know where they came in from. But they're definitely not from this morning, because there's lots of sand inside them, which is from that wind yesterday. So I would imagine maybe from the day before. And also we know that we checked along the cut line and the fire break, and there was no tracks coming from where Taylor had them to here. So that's why I'm a bit skeptical that these are tracks from last night or this morning. Saying yesterday is a little bit of a sort of problem when you haven't been here for a few days. It takes you a while to kind of get used to everything again and try and work out where the animals are moving. Sorry, I just want to see if there's something on the road in front of us. No, it's just a piece of grass sticking out. I thought maybe there was something lying in the road in front. No sign that I can see. These are definitely not from last night. So how large the Nkuhuma's territory is? Well, Debbie, it's probably, I would say, in terms of hectares, we're probably looking at around, I would say, about 10,000 hectares, maybe a little bit less, 8,000. So in acres, that's about 16,000 acres. So their territory extends from the Manyeleti, Buffelshoek, here into Vuyatela, and then into Sumambili, Arathusa, and Elephant Plains a little bit. So it's quite a sort of large area that they utilize, and one that they roam around quite a bit. But the sort of core of their territory would be here on Djuma and Buffelshoek. This is where they spend most of their time. Now, in front of us, we've got two red-billed hornbills that are making short work of some elephant dung. So you see what they're doing is they're busy sort of scraping through it, and that would have been 2 big balls of elephant dung at some point, or 3 or 4 big balls of elephant dung. But this is how it gets broken up.
Oh, sorry about that. It seems as though not even the Hornbills could keep the gremlins away from Tristan this morning. Perhaps the gremlins had missed Tristan, and that's why they're paying him so much attention today. But we're going to keep bumbling about. We're on Mamba Road now, and there's lots of elephant activity around here. But I think that they could be in the middle of this blocker game between Mamba and Battalier Road, which they like a lot, actually. They love feeding around here, so nutritional value in the plants must be still alright if they keep coming back to the same spot. So we're just bumbling because there's a male leopard that often walks this route, and I haven't quite figured out which male leopard it is, so I'm going to try and catch the leopards in the act today so that we can start figuring out who's using what route now. We know Tingana's route. This is not normally his route to come from Cheetah Catline side or from Torchwood side and go along Mamba and then either up the Mulwati or down the Mulwati back towards Gowrie Main. So that's what we're trying to figure out at the moment as well. And the females, we need to catch them all on their routes and then when we find tracks it will be a lot easier to figure out. I wonder if Shadow and Tundi have had an altercation yet, bumping into heads. Now, Michael, you're wondering what is the update on Xongile? You'll probably know better than I have. We haven't seen her. I don't know where she is, but maybe there's some information happening on her Facebook page, on Xongile's Facebook page. So, but otherwise, I'm not sure. It's difficult. If you don't see it happening for yourself, then you have to take the word of somebody else. And broken telephone is a real thing. So it's not always the right thing to do to listen to what everybody else is saying about what the animals are doing. I tell you right now, we prefer to see it with our own eyes so we can give our own opinions. But I haven't heard anything about Xongile, unfortunately. Like I said, you might have to do a bit of investigating on the interweb. There'll be much available information about where she's been. She's been moving around. She's been seen at Simbambili. She's been seen down Elephant Plain. She's been seen all over the entire northern Sabi sands. She could be anywhere, but I haven't seen her for a very long time. Just Tosana, which was nice to bump into him the other day. Also, I think I may have told the story. I don't think I was on Mumba Road. I'm actually on Leadwood Road, which is good because I wanted to drive Leadwood Road at 1.2. Maybe we'll go back through the Mulwati and then we'll go Mumba Road back towards Cheetah Cut Line, and we might just bob and weave through here until we find something. Oh, watch out, Coasted Franklin! So dramatic. I wasn't actually going that fast, but it just freezed in the road. Kasifu's only 8 years old. You're wondering if I've ever saved a wild animal while out on drive. I have, but it was such a long time ago, years ago, when I first started guiding and I didn't know any better. A little warthog we helped raise, and a bushbuck, and that's all. That's to the extent. We did also find once an eland, a young eland calf, which is the largest antelope in Africa, and it was very, very sick. We did bring it back and we tried to save it, but unfortunately it had died. Well, it did die, then 2 days later it was very, very ill. I think it was riddled with parasites and all sorts of things. Actually, funny enough, when we touched it afterwards, we all got a rash. So something was not right with it. Obviously just took some antihistamines and it went away, but it wasn't a good idea that we actually touched that animal. We didn't really know what was wrong with it. But otherwise, no, not anymore. I let nature take its course because I've learned that is the best way. Sometimes taking animals in can be the cruelest thing you do, because it's very difficult, unless it's maybe a bird, to actually rehabilitate them and put them back in the wild where they belong. So it's not always a good thing. It's a tough thing. Trust me, we all sit here. I helped the tortoise out. I forgot about that. I felt so bad for it. It was so... It had fallen into a mud wallow, and obviously it just went venturing and got a little bit too close to the edge and then tumbled in. And we looked at it and I thought it was actually dead, and then I touched its foot and then it moved its foot, and then I felt, obviously it felt so horrible. My eyes were watering. I felt sad, and then I decided to rescue it. So I just took it out of the wallow and alive, and it was a leopard tortoise. No, it wasn't a leopard tortoise. So yeah, so I did do that, and then that's the last time I've helped an animal. So there's been quite a few years between my saving of the animals, and I've saved many ants and things too, and grasshoppers from the water. Oh, yeah, I can't help myself, can I? Right, we're going to go back across to Tristan now. He said he had tracks earlier. I'm sure he would have got out his car and had a closer look. Let's go and see what he's got to say.
Well, Taylor, our tracks are not from last night at all. They've been windswept and completely blown away, and so that's just, unfortunately, the way it goes. And sorry about our gremlins. We were near Gari Cutline, which is Gremlin Central, and so they are around that area. And we were just seeing two red-billed hornbills that were feeding through some elephant dung, and they were going at it quite sort of quickly, and it seemed like they were grabbing lots of termites within that dung itself. It was quite cool to watch. But our tracks, unfortunately, there's been no fresh signs that I can see coming out of this block at all. So I'm going to go back now to where Taylor had them and try and see if I can't find some sort of sign. I heard the guys in the north talking about seeing some lions last night, but I can't hear at all which ones. They keep kind of breaking up heavily, and I just can't sort of piece together what they're saying. It was something about maybe a male and a female around Hardekool, but really it's battling to hear. So I don't know if the Nkuma Pride has crossed that way. I can't find any of their tracks yet, but it doesn't necessarily mean they didn't go towards Albury's and go north that side, because I haven't checked there. I've only checked up to Gari, not Gari Cut Line, Gallagher Shortcut. So they could have gone a little bit further west and headed towards Albury's side. No, there's nothing that I can see here. Now, here's a little bit more difficult to find tracks because of how sort of hard the ground is in places here. No, there's no sign there. Doesn't seem like they came this way. And like I said earlier, it would be quite easy to find them because of the number of feet there is. You should find at least one track. No matter how much they cross a road, you'll always find one track sort of somewhere in there. Even if it's a hard road, you generally see some sort of sign of them. So they must be around here somewhere. Seb, what do you think? That's what I think. I think so. So Seb is saying that he thinks they might be in the same area where they were struggling to find, him and Taylor were struggling to find them yesterday, and it is quite a large block with lots of deep drainage lines, and you never know, maybe they managed to find themselves an Impala or something inside there and they ate and they've now just resting, so that could also be the case. We did go past Tambuati Dam where the dead hyena is, and it stinks, I can tell you that much, but it's no sign of them going over that way. There is tracks though for Mvula walking around in that section, but it seemed like they went back north towards Buffalo's Hook. So let's see, where could they be? So Michael, you're asking when the breeding herds of buffalo will return. It seems unusual that they're not back yet. Well, Michael, yesterday I was chatting about it. I spent a lot of time in the Kruger Park and drove a vast majority of the park going north-south. And I can tell you from driving there that there are very few buffalo herds in general. So I think one is that the buffalo numbers took a massive hit last year during that drought. I think a lot of individuals must have died, and that would have affected the herd structures. But secondly, there just seems to be very few buffalo around where we are. There was only 2 herds right on the southern boundary on the Kruger, on the Crocodile River, and then another herd on the Sabi River. But other than that, I didn't see any other herds of buffalo over pretty much, we did I think over 600 kilometers through the park, and so not too many of them around. And I was chatting about the fact that the Kruger has started to shut off water holes. So basically anything that was a man-made waterhole is being closed down at the moment over the last few years, and that means that the area that we're in and where we border on the Kruger, there's no major rivers in this section, so it could potentially mean that the buffalo herds are all moving to where there's water, which would be the river system, so the Olifants, the Letaba, the Shingwetsi, the Sabi, the Crocodile, the Sand. So that's where maybe a vast majority of our buffalo are spending time, and whether or not they now come this way after spending time down on the rivers is anyone's guess, because there's no water linking them to this northern section. So it's going to be an interesting sort of case study to see if them closing those water holes down leads to us seeing fewer buffalo in this northern section. I would imagine most of the buffalo would start moving down towards the Sabi or the Sand River, and whether or not they come this way is anyone's guess at this stage. So we might actually have a case where we see very few big herds of buffalo over the next few years. It's going to be interesting just to check how it works, because I'm pretty sure that the lack of water in this sort of western part of Kruger is definitely going to mean that the buffalo spend less time around here, because remember, buffalo are one of the most water dependent species that we have in this particular area. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting indeed. Right, still no signs. Tracks for the hyenas. Yes, yeah. So we've got tracks for the hyenas, which I would have assumed they would be, given that the den is north of us here. So they're going up and down, but I was hoping that there would have been some sort of sign of the lions. I wonder, Seb, I wonder if they didn't just come back the same way. Now Seb is going to show me where they lost them yesterday, because he was with them, and I believe it was north of this little drainage section that we're about to come across now. But there's definitely nothing that I can see coming out anywhere in this area. Wouldn't it be funny if they're lying on the road here? So, Desiree, I'm sorry I didn't hear all of that, Megs. If you can just repeat it for me. All the baboons. Ah, Desiree, I'm not sure where all the baboons are. I saw a troop just before I went on leave. They were around quarantine during the middle of the day, and then they headed sort of southwards down towards Little Gowrie side. So maybe they're hanging around there, around Chitwa, Little Gowrie, those areas. You'll often find baboons will go to where there's lodges, and where lodges that actually do meals for guests regularly, because there is a chance that they can steal food. So maybe they're just all down at Chitwa at the moment, and that's why we haven't seen too many of them. But it is quite strange. I would have thought we would have seen more of them than what we have. Seb, was this where you had them? No. I see lots of vehicle tracks here, so I was imagining this is where Seb and Taylor must have had those lions last night. Since we're here, let's check on the hyena den quickly while we're around. There's no tracks for these lions here, so might as well just check the hyena den and see if they're not home. Now, I'm quite excited about this den. It looks really, really nice, and it seems like it's been very active, and the girls have had a fantastic time with the den. So let's try and see. But there's still no tracks for any lions around here either. I wonder where they've gone. So the den's just off to the right hand side here. Ah, we have some hyenas that are home. Fantastic. It looks like a really cool den site, and in fact it is. There we go. Hey guys, have you got yourself a little bone there of some sort or description? It looks like there's something on the mound itself. I want to have a quick look with my binoculars. No, it's just pieces of wood. It looked like almost like a bone, that one in front there, but it's just a piece of wood. Now, I'm not 100% sure which are the mothers here. I was talking to Ellie and Taylor last night, and they were saying that they think that Scarback is the one mother, and then Ribbon's cub is also here. So I would imagine that's Intima is the one that was in the hole, and this is then one of the slightly older ones, maybe January or one of those. And I'm sure many of you out there will be able to help us with an identifying features of that particular one, but that I think is Intima up there. It's about the right size and age. Getting so big. I haven't seen this little one for a long time, and it is definitely gotten a lot bigger than the last time I saw it. There comes the little one as well. Hello, good morning. I love baby hyenas. They're so cute. So Kylie, in terms of if a mother hyena dies and you're wondering if anybody else would come in and start to allo mother that little one, as far as I know, no. I've never seen it in action. I've seen, you'll find with the hyenas that they've got quite an established... Listen. The little one is whooping, but it sounds like a squeaky toy rather than a hyena. That's so cool. So with hyenas, they have a very sort of strict hierarchy, and so you'll find that if it's a female that's low ranking, none of those adults are going to try and raise their... Just loving listening to this little one. So that's the little baby that was making that noise. It wasn't these two that were sniffing each other. It was the tiny little one that was calling. And you can hear how their sound will get deeper and deeper, and it'll eventually sound like a proper hyena in a few months' time. But for now, it's just a little high-pitched squeak that comes out of that hole. But in terms of the mothers, you'll find that they're very protective of their own, and they don't really share much with any of the other ones. You'll find that if they want to feed their young one, they'll chase off any other babies that are around suckling. So no, they wouldn't really look after another female's young one, and that little one would unfortunately probably then die. But come on, little one, come on, out. You can just see its head poking out at the moment. Come on, don't be shy. Look how cute it is. So, Ryan, you're wondering if hyenas are as affectionate as lions in terms of bonding with each other? Well, maybe not quite as affectionate in that they'll sit and groom and they'll rub up on one another and really kind of spend a long time bonding. You'll find with hyenas they tend to do a lot of greetings. So what we saw just now, where the old hyena and this Djuma was busy sniffing one another, and they sniff each other's genitals, and that's just to work out who one another is. There will be a bit of playing and a bit of biting and a bit of carrying on, and they'll kind of rub up on each other, but it's not quite as affectionate as what you'd see with lions, where they sort of head rub a lot of the time and groom each other effectively. These guys don't spend nearly as much time grooming. But in terms of mother and cubs, you'll find that that bond is very strong. So the mother is very affectionate towards her cubs, and she'll look after them and she'll groom them and have lots of time with them. So Chris, you say I'm right that this is January. Thank you, Chris. I wasn't 100% sure. I've been trying to learn the hyenas as much as possible, and obviously it's difficult because we haven't had a lot of time with them. But see that this hyena's got a little scar under its right eye, and then a nice big circular sort of spot pattern on its right shoulder as well. So that's kind of why I thought about it. Now it seems like our luck is changing. We've got the hyenas at the den, and it seems like Miss McCurdy has managed to find something of her own that is rather large.
We found elephants, which is my favorite animal in the entire world. So I'm very, very happy to, of course, have stumbled across them. I think it's actually the same tracks that we had. I don't know if we were live, but I was telling you about that there were lots of elephants that have been walking around. So I think they moved through the block from Mumba Road, or from Leadwood side, sorry, and then have come out on Battalier Road. They have a route that they like to walk. It's quite nice when you figure that out. It makes finding animals a whole lot easier. And this little one is putting on a lovely show for us. It's not scared of the cars at all. It's very relaxed around the vehicles. It walked right past me. Now it is done trying to intimidate us, because it also shook its head at us a few times, trying to act all big and brave, but now it's trying to pull some sort of plant out of the ground. Yes, and it actually was holding it down too far down to the base by the looks of it earlier, and it was struggling, but now if it realizes that if it just pulls the top part of the plant, here we go, yes, use your foot. No, now you have to pull back on it. We've got another very curious, naughty elephant right next to the car. And I think it might... Hello, little one. No, it's okay, relax. We're not going to... Don't worry about us. Little bit nervous. But you've come over here. You've come to say hello to me. You can come this way. Hesitant. It's now deciding, maybe I should go somewhere else. Maybe I'm not that brave. Maybe I'm not going to walk past that car. I think I might go back around. Well, I'm just going to push through the trees. But we've got a couple of them sort of walking in our direction. We have another slightly older bull, looks like, or maybe it's a young cow. She's coming out from the back, so we'll see what her reaction or his reaction is. It's hiding behind the trees at the moment, so it's very difficult to identify what sex it is. But we'll get there. And it's sort of at that age now too where I think it might be quite exciting. We might see a little bit of action, but it's just stopped for a snack, so we'll wait for it to come back. We can watch these guys. Look there, oh, that's so cute. That little one is so sweet. Shame it's trying to pull the leaves off, but it's struggling a little bit. Now, Mischief, you're wondering how old do I think this calf is? it's a tough one. It's able to use its trunk, and you saw it's definitely got some sort of coordination. Not quite there just yet. So I would say almost a year, maybe just slightly less than a year, 8 months. I mean, it was definitely still not able to completely remove vegetation as the one on the right. You can see the tusks are just protruding there, so this one's probably closer to 2.5 years old. But it would be nice to know how many elephants are actually around, but they're moving in and out of the thicket, which is making it very, very difficult for us to spot them. But hopefully these two feed around. There's lots of cracking and crunching going on in the distance. There's a few elephants that must be feeding on bark. We'll see if we can hear them pushing down a tree again. There's even a little pearl-spotted owlet calling. See, there's some more elephants. Well spotted, Craig. And from all the tracks and dung that I saw, it's not a small herd if it is the same herd. They're feeding in this direction. Maybe 20 of them, 25, somewhere around there, just from looking at all the tracks. But it is, of course, very difficult to say. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, and it'll be like 40 or 50 elephants actually moving through this thicket. Let me try and get a better spot for you, because that one has decided to continue feeding. Just want to see what the little one's reactions are going to be. Now they're pushing each other. Just want to move slightly forward. I wonder what they're going to do next. It's like they're plotting. Here they come. Let's see if they pop out on the road. But I wonder if these two are maybe siblings. Because that little one is very affectionate to that older calf, though it wouldn't be uncommon to see even if they weren't related at all. They're still very sociable with each other. Off they go. Now they're climbing over a fallen tree. Now that's got lots of prickles on. That looks like an old knobthorn. Be careful, you two. Your skin might still be a little bit sensitive. Yes, thank you for coming out onto the road. I actually think that could be siblings. So maybe this one's even a little bit older, maybe closer to 3 or 4. The one that's just walked. Maybe a bit more. Oh, someone's throwing a tantrum at the back. Oh, look how tall the trees are. We can just see the head of that youngster. Come back here. Just very, you can see there. See how it's struggling? It's able to move its trunk around quite easily, but it can't grasp the vegetation. So that's one of the ways that we look to try and identify the age of elephants. So I don't think it's quite a year just yet. Maybe almost there. Now it's important when you sit in a sighting like this and you can see how thick vegetation is around you, that you constantly keep turning your head and making sure that there aren't any big elephants sneaking up on you. It's one thing having a youngster sneak up on you, but that's okay. Because, you know, if you need to get yourself out of a pickle, just using your voice, you'd be able to do that. However, if you get big cows, or if you get big bulls around you, you don't want to get stuck between them. But we'll wait for these elephants to pop out into the open again. They're slowly feeding towards the road. I'm going to send you back across to Tristan, who's still at the hyena den, and it seems as though the cubs have found something to chew on.
Well, they have indeed. It seems like there's one bone in amongst those sticks that they were busy playing with, and January kind of pulled it out and was looking at it. But I can hear some monkeys' alarm calling. It's definitely monkeys' alarm calling to our eastern side. Now I wonder what's going on there. It wouldn't be for these hyenas. They obviously had a den and the monkeys will have seen them probably regularly, and these hyenas don't cause monkeys to alarm call, but there's definitely something that's kind of causing a bit of trauma. So maybe let me just get hold of Taylor and Herbie quickly to let them know. Herbie. Yeah, Herbie, there's monkeys alarm calling. It sounds like somewhere close to Viatella camp. Don't know if you want to go follow up there. So Herbie's going to probably try and see if he can't get in that see if he can't try and find any sign of whatever's causing those monkeys to get upset. The hyenas don't look too perturbed by it. They're not even listening to it, and that's probably because they're all quite young. If it was older, bigger, dominant females, often when they hear monkeys alarm calling, they know that there can be another predator like leopard, and that sometimes means that there's food, and so they'll then go and trot off and try and go and investigate what's going on. But I was saying just now that there was almost looked like a bone that they had there that they were kind of playing with, and it was funny to watch because January pulled it and kind of took it to the out of the den, and little Intima came running along and grabbed it and quickly sort of made sure that it was its own bone and took it back towards the den itself. But they almost look like they're waiting for the adults to come back. They keep sort of scouring around and checking, and they've done a few loops of the den itself, trying to sort of look out for what's going on. And I would imagine that they're quite hungry and that they want food to be brought back, and that's why there's lots of staring going on. Hello, you. Jack, you're asking if hyenas are very social creatures. Well, yes, they are very social. Hello to you. Look how it's sniffing us and just kind of checking us out. You can see that very, very close indeed. Don't worry, we're not going to do anything to you. Hello, little one. This way is so cool when hyenas are so close to you and they're kind of sniffing you and having this sort of moment. It's really very, very special indeed. But back to their sort of social structures, they are very social animals. You'll find that the clan is tightly knit. There'll be a hierarchy within them, but they still will do anything they can to protect a clan member. Even if it's a low-ranking female or a male, the older females or the bigger matriarchal females will come in and they'll try and protect them. So they try and look after each other as much as possible, and they try and make sure that they keep the clan healthy and keep them all sort of working together. You'll also find when it comes to food items, if it's a large item like let's say a buffalo and there's lions there, they'll work cooperatively to try and get rid of those lions so that they can all get a bit of food. So they really do work quite a lot together to try and find what they need and to make sure that they find the food that they need. So, Douglas, you want to know how many hyenas can dwell in the den at any given time? Well, Douglas, it's very dependent on the area. So, this particular clan at the moment has only got these two young ones, so Intima and this little one that you see poking its head out there. And so those are the only two that are actually living in the den at the moment. Then there will be January that will hang around and not spend too much time actually inside the den, but at the den itself, and then the mothers of those hyenas. So there will be quite a few that will spend time here. But the den around Elephant Plains, which is a much larger clan, and there's over 50 of those in that clan now. They at one stage, I remember them having a den where there was 12 youngsters in the den itself, which is a lot. It was a massive termite mound, bigger than what we're even seeing here, and so there was enough space for all 12 of them to fit in. But as they started to get bigger and they got to about the size of Intima, so it started to get a bit cramped, and then females actually split and they started to use two termite mounds right next to one another, and that's kind of how it went. So it just depends on the space of the termite mound and also the sort of size of the clan, which will dictate how many actually spend time at the clan. I mean, at the den itself. The most hyenas I've ever seen at a den, including the young ones and the adults, was 32, and that was on Elephant Plains where we had all of them together, and so you had 32 different hyenas at the den itself, which was absolutely amazing. And I think the reason why there were so many there that day is because we probably found that there was a fact that there was a carcass there, so maybe one of the matriarchal females or higher ranking females brought a carcass, there goes the bone inside the hole, brought a carcass back, and that then caused a bit of commotion, and the rest of the hyenas then started to arrive back. But quite a scene when you come around a corner and there's 32 of them sort of all around the mound and playing and moving around and vocalizing and sort of interacting with each other. It's pretty magical, that's for sure. You see though how Intima's behavior has changed. So she's still quite young, or he's still quite young. I'm still yet to actually sex them, but as soon as that older hyena is now left, so the one that we call January is now moved away, gone straight towards the mound itself and towards the hole where it's going to know if anything arrives, it can then just duck inside. You see it's a lot more nervous now that that bigger hyena is left. There's also no other adults here, and so that's why they're going inside and trying to hide away, because they know with no adults and no bigger hyena around, they have to be very careful about what they're doing. Now, the fact that they've got inside is going to probably mean that it's a good time for us to maybe try and follow up on this monkey alarm call. Now, Geeky Beth, you're wondering if the hyenas chew on bones to clean their teeth. Well, I would imagine there's an element of sort of tooth cleanliness that comes from chewing bones, but it's more to gain calcium out of it, as well as the fact that they teeth, they're young, so they sometimes go through a teething process and chewing on things. As with any sort of domestic dog, you'll find when they're little ones that they do the same thing. So it's a case of they will do that with sort of the bones just to kind of ease the pain of the teeth and any other sort of issues that they have. Careful there, Seb. Now, we are going to try and head towards those monkeys alarm call. It's not for the lions, because while I've been sitting here, they found the tracks west of where we were checking. So they must have crossed a little bit further north of us here, out of this block, and headed westwards towards the Buffelshoek boundary, and they've then crossed north into Buffelshoek. So I'm going to try and just go to where these monkeys are alarm calling. Maybe it's that skittish leopard that Taylor had last night. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to try and see if we can't find it. Just trying to think which way is going to be the best way to get there, but I think if we go Gallagher's shortcut side and go and check that side is probably going to be better. But that was very cool. I'm super happy to see that den, and it's such a nice den. It's big and it's kind of up, and the hole is at eye level, and really very, very cool. So I look forward to many, many fantastic sightings in that area. Very, very cute, that little one. That little one looks very young still. It's tiny. If you think that Intima is now... What are we? We're in July, so Intima must be about just over 6 months old now, because we first found Intima at the den in late February, I think, or early March, somewhere there. It was when we first discovered that den, so that would make that little one around 6 months old, maybe a little bit older, closer to 7, between 6 and 7 months. And that other hyena is tiny in comparison, so it's probably quite small still. I would say maybe 2.5 months, 3 months old, somewhere there. So still a little one, and hopefully there might be some more on their way. Wouldn't that be nice if we had another new set there as well? Right, well, I'm going to try and get to where these monkeys are alarm calling. They are still alarm calling, so hopefully they will, by the time we get there, keep going so that we can hear and see where they're looking. And while we do that, let's go back to Taylor McCurdy and see what her plans are and where she is at the moment.
Hello everyone. So you're not on Taylor's vehicle, you're with me, Scott, and Senzo on camera. As you can see, we've got 2 lions that we've just stumbled across that we can see, that you just saw there. One of them is a young male, another one looks to be a big lioness, and there's, I'm told, another 3 lioness moving through the grass on either side of this road. They did attempt to try and catch some zebra. There's a very large herd of zebra that's just up ahead of us, and it seems like these lions are continuing to pursue them. However, they've lost the elements of surprise. This herd of zebra now knows that there's lions on their tail, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I'm also told there's another vehicle that's enjoying the sighting with us, and they actually saw the initial hunt, and they said this young male who has just popped out of view now, I'm not sure where he's just lying behind what could be his mother there. So I'm told he went charging forward far too early and ruined the hunt. So he's still got a lot of learning to do. He looks to be only about a year, maybe a year and a half old. He's a youngster. And I'm also not sure who these lionesses are. I don't think we have seen them yet, or I certainly haven't. It's 4 lionesses and 1 young male. And it certainly is going to be very interesting over the coming weeks working out who all these prides are and exactly what goes on. But what we can say is that in the Masai Mara, Senzo's just going to try and find some more to show you. There we go. Well played, Senzo. So there's another lioness back there. There's, from what we've seen, 3 lion on the left-hand side of the road.
Oh my goodness, the gremlins are in Mara. I'm not sure if they're the same species or not, but sorry about that. But you're back with us, and at least we've got some elephants to keep you entertained. And you had a quick view of some lions, but hopefully they'll get themselves sorted out in the Mara. Perhaps we have to send over a care package of gremlicide. Maybe that will work. Who knows? Now, this is not the same little elephant that we saw earlier. This is another one. This one looks even younger than the one we first saw. I would say this one's probably around 6 months or so. It was struggling quite a bit to use its trunk. And here's its little friend has come to join the party too. I think they're all coming to watch this older calf feed and see what it's getting up to. But it's not doing much. It's just eating on a buffalo thorn and some knob thorns. Almost like the babysitter for the day. And I think that happens quite often. Can you hear them all feeding? It's actually a beautiful sound to hear the leaves being stripped from the elephant. I'm just going to sit here quietly just for a moment, just so that you can hear exactly what I'm hearing. Lots going on out here, isn't it? And that's why it's so important to occasionally stop and listen when you're out on safari, especially when the bush is quite thick, because you could easily drive past these mammoth-like creatures. But if you sit and listen, you can actually hear and pinpoint where they're feeding, which is quite nice. You might not hear them walking, but they definitely aren't quiet when it comes to gobbling up breakfast, which they are doing right now. They're all eating buffalo thorn. Buffalo thorn seems to be the main vegetation that all the animals are feeding on, that are browsers. I've even been seeing the impala nibbling on them quite a bit, but it is favored right now by the elephants, so the leaves must be particularly tasty. Remember, we can also eat the leaves from the buffalo thorn too. It's like a spinach, but I don't particularly care for them. I wonder if Tristan likes them. I forgot to ask Ellie how she feels about eating buffalo thorn leaves or their fruit, but we can ask Tristan when we see him. We'll have to wait until Ali comes back again. But look at that, able to crunch through all those thorns without even pulling a face. Now, I know if I were to try and even hold the buffalo thorn like that elephant is holding in its trunk, you would hear all sorts of things coming out of my mouth, because it'd be prickling me quite a bit. Not the nicest vegetation to get stuck on. And that's why they actually seem to have dwarfed all the buffalo thorn around here. There's not one big tree. They're more like little shrubs, and I can see why. Because obviously every single year the elephants come through and completely demolish this area and keep those shrubs short. And elephants are responsible for doing that, for dwarfing trees when they should, you know, get massive. Buffalo thorn probably doesn't get more than about 7 meters or so. That'd be a very big buffalo thorn, but they can still grow quite large. Now, if you are new and you just started watching for this first time, we'd love to hear. We'd like to meet our new viewers. So you can hashtag Safari Live, say, I'm new. I've never been here before. And there's also a crested barbet calling up above, in case you're wondering what that sound was. Now, Cindy, you're wondering if elephants can communicate with one another with their stomach rumbles. Of course, they can indeed. They communicate through infrasounds. So sometimes we can only, well, not sometimes, we can hear the stomach rumble, we can hear the trumpeting and the sort of screeching that they give off every now and then, a young teenager throwing a tantrum. However, we can't hear the infrasound. It's so low that the elephants can communicate with each other like that, and that's the main way that they communicate, is actually the sounds that we can't hear. Those are the sounds that can travel further. But yes, they can. And through body language. I think body language is very important out in the bush. I don't think we realize how important it actually is. Obviously, that's what we use to read their behavior, but I think in terms of silent communication amongst sociable animals like this, I think it plays a huge role. We see it with giraffe quite often. Hello, girl. Now, she's most likely the mother of one of those young calves. And she's just pushed everybody out the way though, because she wants to go and feed in there. Her mammary glands are quite swollen, and I can also see some suckle marks. Well, not suckle marks, but I can just see how wet it is around her mammary gland. No, they don't suckle from that end. Craig. Oh, that was so funny. Oh no. Oh, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Sorry, I'm just taking a moment here. Timo, you're wondering. No, I don't know what you're wondering. Sorry, Megan. What was Timo wondering? I completely missed that. I was giggling too loudly. Ah, yes. Does eye contact make elephants uncomfortable? No. I can say this quite confidently that I don't think it does, because we often experience the elephants walking right past the cars, most times, and I look at them all the time because I don't know where else I'm supposed to look at an elephant. And you know, I know some people say that you shouldn't look certain animals in the eyes, but if you're on foot with them, how are you supposed to observe what they're doing? Because you know, if you're looking to the ground, then you don't know if they're going to attack you or any of those types of things. So I think it's important to constantly look at the animals so that you are able to tell what its next move is going to do. But no, elephants will walk right past, stop. I've had an elephant stand right next to my car on a number of different occasions, and I've looked them straight into the eye. And it's very humbling. It's almost like you can see into an elephant's soul when you look into their eyes. There's so much emotion going on in their eyes. But I haven't had an experience like that when I've been, you know, just inches away from an elephant, where one has just stopped. Obviously they come past and they perform for us sometimes. But it's difficult to say, and I don't know if you get the same feeling when you're watching an elephant, you know, sort of via a computer screen. It's definitely beautiful, but to be sitting face to face when an elephant walks past you and looking into its eye directly, that's a whole nother experience right there, and an amazing one. And I always say this, I always wish that every single one of you that are watching could experience what I get to experience just at least once. I get to do this every single day of my life. How crazy is that? That I've got a job that people spend fortunes on coming all the way to Africa to do these safari holidays. That's why it is so rewarding to be out here surrounded by nature. But they're busy, these elephants, don't you think? They haven't actually stopped once. Just munching away. They've obviously been doing a bit of traveling last night. Oh, Janine, you say, do elephants get colds because you have one now? Well, I hope you've got a box of tissues next to you and you've made yourself a nice cup of tea with honey or something like that. Or drinking lots and lots of orange juice, but get better soon. Maybe not a traditional cold like you and I would get, but I'm sure that they do feel run down in times, and especially coming into the winter months, not because it's colder in South Africa, but just because we always talk about the vegetation not having as much nutrients as what it normally does. So then their immune system is slightly weakened, and then I think, yes, they are susceptible. But if there's also something wrong with them, say they've got some underlying problems that we don't know about, yes, and there's all different types of things that could go wrong with an elephant. Whether necessarily getting a type of influenza, I'm not so sure about that. Oh, and the flies that are around here today are a nightmare. But our elephants keep moving off. They're moving now straight into the thicket. I'm just looking behind me to see if I can see any more popping out, but there aren't any on this side. Okay, we might move around. We might go and do a big loop or something along those lines, because our elephants are disappearing, but maybe they pop out again a little bit later. We'll go back down this way and we'll take another route. Maybe we get the odd bull still trying to catch up with the herd, so the elephant sighting might not just be over. We'll keep a lookout. I mean, you can see as we're driving around here, the bush is completely impenetrable on either side. You wouldn't be able to off-road at all in here. Even if there was a leopard or something walking through, it would be quite difficult. So Tristan was successful at the hyena den. Let's see if he's going to be successful with some cats.
Well, so far, no, Taylor. We haven't had any success with the cats yet. We are busy still looking around. There are tracks for a male leopard coming from Gowrie Dam, or Vuyatela Dam, coming northwards, and I had some squirrels alarm calling. The monkeys have gone quiet though, so I don't know. Maybe somewhere in this section we'll get lucky, but so far Nothing that we can see. Aubrey's in the area and Herbie helping me, so maybe we'll get lucky somewhere here. Jasjet, you're wondering if the animals are more active during the day or the night? Well, it depends on the animal, Jasjet. Some of the animals are more active during the day, some of them more active during the night. So if you think of things like impalas and elephants, to a degree, wild dogs, cheetah, they tend to be a lot more active during the day. Now there's a Nyala over there, so that's not very inspiring in terms of a leopard being here. And so you'll find that those animals are active during the day, whereas things like genets and civets and aardvarks and pangolins, they tend to be more active at night. So it just depends on the individual animal and how they work. Things like hippos also more active at night than they are during the day. I'm just trying to see, because the guys said that they had tracks for that leopard coming northwards. But I don't see any tracks here whatsoever crossing north. But I'll try and check and just see. The squirrel that we heard alarm calling was on this side here. Let's see, Seb, if we can't have a little look here quickly. It's very, very steep and difficult to negotiate this area, but I'm going to try my best. So you can see it's a perfect place for a leopard to hide out and for a leopard to spend some time. Anything there? No. And the problem with squirrels is that they're not very reliable. Monkeys are, but the problem with monkeys is that they have such excellent eyesight that they generally can see so far that you just can't actually kind of work out exactly where they're looking unless you can see the monkey and the monkey is staring straight in a certain direction and you're able to then spot that animal. But otherwise monkeys are quite tough to use as a sort of way of looking for a predator. Now, we've got lots of Nyala here in front of us, so I would imagine that there is no leopard anywhere near here, because these guys would be shouting if they had seen a leopard walk through here. So we're going to have to try and rethink our strategy a little bit here. Oh, bush taking a punishing this morning. But we're going to try to rethink things and try and see if we can't find a track and follow the track from there. And while we do that, I believe Mr. Dyson, all the way in the Masai Mara, has chased off gremlins and is sitting with a beautiful pride of lions and lots of zebra.
So, things are looking good here. As you can see, there's one lioness over there. She's on the right-hand side of the road, and as Senzo zooms out, you'll get an idea of the lie of the land here. Here's some zebra. I think there could well be another lioness to the right of the one that we've just seen now, kind of trying to encompass this herd. There are also a few Waterbuck and Impala around further to the right, and then there's another lioness on the left of the road over here. So there's all kinds of action going on here. Like I said earlier, we seem to think that there are 4 lioness and 1 young male. Now this one's tricky to see, but it gives you a good idea of how well they blend in to this long grass. You can just make out her muzzle. It's a little bit of a whiter spot in amongst that sea of grass. And she seems to have been the kind of most proactive of the lioness. She's got herself into the best position closest to the zebra. Now she's relying on her pride members to, like I said earlier, encompass the herd before at least one of them decides to ambush them, and that will send them running in all directions, and hopefully the lions would have positioned themselves accordingly to try and intercept one of them. So exciting stuff here. It's so tricky to actually know where the lions are in this long grass. So that's one zebra that's close to the lioness, but definitely not close enough for her to launch an attack. She's probably about 60 meters away now, and should need to be the furthest 20 meters before she started chasing them, and even that would probably be too far for her to catch up. But what it may do is chase some zebra into the other pride members. They may have had a long and unsuccessful night, so they may be getting a little bit tired now. I'm trying to scan around to ensure that we know where all the lioness are. as they get closer to the zebra, they're going to make themselves harder to see, which makes it a little bit tricky for us. But be warned, because at any moment one of these lionesses could pop out, and then the action will begin. Well, what a pleasant surprise to come out, and we are on our way to try and get towards some of the crossing points where the migration is moving more prominently, and that's further south of us. And on the way there, we were lucky enough to bump into this action, so pleasantly delayed from our plans of where we were going. Hello Gillian, it's good to have you on board with us, and you've noticed that it's quite strange that these zebras don't seem to really blend in with anything. And you're right, they stand out, but from a distance, when there's a kind of shimmering haze in the middle of the day, they can kind of disappear into the grasses. But most importantly, if you take a closer look at them now, once they all bunch together, it becomes difficult to work out which one's which, and which head belongs to who. And also what's interesting is that when zebra are born, they're born very tall. So the base of a baby zebra's stomach is probably the same height off the ground as their mother's. And this is called disruptive camouflage. So when the lions do take chase and the zebras bombshell in all directions, it can confuse. Ooh, here we go. This is going to be beautiful. Senzo's on the ball. And this lioness has just crept forward a few meters as the herd moves a little bit further away from her. I wish I knew where the other pride members were. Hello to Timo. Senzo, I'm going to ask you to just focus on these impala on the right of us. I think another lioness may have swooped around there. They're looking very intently in front of them. So it could well be that there is something ahead of them, and that's where the action could unfold. So there the impala there. Maybe they're just cautious of this thick vegetation ahead of them, but there could be a lioness in there. Timo, you would like to know if zebras will try and protect themselves from lions, and ordinarily no, not so much from lion, but from cheetah and leopard, yes. Sorry, Senzo, we're going to have to switch back onto this lioness now. I'm not sure where to put the camera, but that's always a good situation to be in. But let's get this lioness stalking forward through this short grass. Look at this, look at her focus. How awesome is this? Now she's got her work cut out for her in this short grass, but there is a termite mound in front of her which she's probably using to block her approach from the zebra, which are drifting off. I wonder where the other lioness are. You need some help. You're not going to be able to do this on your own. Looking at her belly, it could be that she's nursing cubs, or she's certainly an adult lioness, and she has definitely given birth to cubs. You can see she's got a very prominent nipple there. Look at how wonderful this is. So who knows, maybe she's urgently trying to fill her belly in order to try and produce some milk for some tiny cubs. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to see after a hunt? Now this is going to be interesting. She's about to have to cross the road, so she's going to have to think cleverly here, because this is when she's going to be most exposed. The road is also a little bit elevated. The zebra are moving away from her though, so I think she's got a good chance of being able to cross without being seen. Look at how she's flattening herself to the ground there. And she's made it across, so that's good, undetected. Now where all these animals are moving, there's quite a lot of long grass, so this is becoming favorable for her. The wind is also gently wafting towards us. So the wind is in her favor. I'm told a little bit earlier, I think the wind was what let them down, along with a young male that's within this pride. Oh, it doesn't get much better than this. A lioness on the hunt, in broad daylight, lots of food around. And I've got a strong suspicion that the rest of her pride members have moved into those thickets behind her. And we could be in for some great action shortly. At any moment things could explode. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we saw another lioness poke her head out of that long grass beyond this initial one we're looking at? I'm trying to scan desperately with my binoculars to see if I can pick up where another one is, but not having any joy. So lots of prey up ahead there, just moving off. But they have relaxed. I mean, they're not as worked up as they were when we initially arrived, just after these lions had attempted to catch them on a failed attempt. Hello to Michael. You're interested to know if the vegetation density or the lack thereof will impact on hunts, and yes, certainly. The more vegetation and cover the lions have, look at how awesome this is, the closer they can get to their prey. So they rely on it heavily. We're going to be temporarily, oh no, there's a tractor coming past with a hot air balloon, but it missed us and she's off. But I think she moved too early. Unfortunate timing there. There was a hot air balloon coming off, but the zebra is still running around. I'm just going to try and move the vehicle ever so slightly. Anything could happen. We're not sure where the other lions are. They're running through the forest. I can see warthogs, zebra, Waterbuck, Impala all scattering in all directions. I'm just going to creep forward again. We've got a bit of a roadblock behind us, which is unfortunate. Apologies folks, there's a little bit of chaos and confusion, but the zebras are still all running around in that direction. We don't want to zoom in because we're not sure where the lions are at this stage, and there's a lot of other prey around. So even though the zebras may have gone one way, the Waterbuck have gone in another direction, we're not sure where the lions are. Whew. Now, where are the other lions? Oh, it's tricky business working out where everyone's gone now. Sure. Well, that sure was exciting. Our timing wasn't ideal with that tractor coming past with a big basket from a hot air balloon. But people are having a lot of fun out here on safari, and one of those things you just can't really avoid. We are going to now stick around here and try and work out what these lions are going to do next, and we'll be sure to keep you updated if anything does become more exciting. But for now, you are joining Taylor on a leopard hunt.
Well, I'm glad you had a great lion sighting. I'm just moving about here, trying to show you all these lion and these lion tracks and try and figure out who's walking here actually. So I need to jump out in order to do that, because it looked like there was a leopard track here too, but I want to make sure that it maybe isn't a youngster, a young lion, because the age of the Hyena Cubs now, their tracks will look very much like male leopard tracks. So let me find a big male lion footprint for you firstly. Okay, so there's a lioness walking here as well. Look at that. There's one track. I just want to find another big one. How many lions walked here? 1, 2, 3. What's that making a noise in the bushes? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what exactly is going on. It'll be hard for you to see, but there's a very fresh male lion track here. You can see there's a big circle, a big toe compared to my thumb. I can put my thumb completely in it, and there's still space around it. So there's the big padding also coming back here. I don't know how many lions have walked here now. Definitely a male and at least one female, and then there's a slightly smaller set of tracks too. Maybe the Nkuhuma Pride actually did a detour and have completely walked here. Yeah, maybe. I think that's maybe what's happened. Interesting. Okay, let's go this way then. Let's follow the tracks. Because I know Herbie said that the tracks crossed in Buffelshoek, but they could have crossed back in again. But I'm going to have a bit of looking around to do. Sorry, Megan, no, I heard you. I'm going to see if I can find these lions. It seems as though Tristan has beaten me in the race to find a cat in the sands. He's got one with spots.
Well, Taylor, we don't just have one, we have the Xongile, who's looking very cool, and we actually have another male that's sitting in the tree above us over here. So there is a male with a duiker kill, and I think this male, which looks like it might be Mvula, just judging by the ears, has maybe stolen this kill from little Xongile. Isn't that cool? So we've got the two of them together. Xongile is looking very upset with life, and you can see it's quite an old duiker. It's pretty much been eaten all the way through, and so it took us a while to find this. We've been off-roading all over the place. We could smell the scent of leopard. We had Nyala barking, squirrels alarm calling, and we were kind of driving around, and then Seb's like, just reverse, I think I spotted something, and he managed to spot this beautiful leopard up in the tree. So I'm not 100% sure if it's Mvula or Tingana, but it's one of the two of them up in the tree. I think it's Mvula, just judging by the sort of neck area and the ears, and then, like I say, little Xongile that is sitting next to us on the ground here, looking very forlorn. And that does look very Mvula-like, doesn't it? That face already. I'm pretty sure it's him, just judging from this distance. But little Xongile is not very impressed at all. And I'm sure this, like I say, was her kill that Mvula has stolen. But isn't this cool to have the two of them? And the fact that he's not in any way aggressive towards her is very interesting. And I've watched Mvula with other cubs. He's often very, very chilled around leopard cubs. I've seen him with others that are not his, and he seems to be quite fine, even young males. But with little Xongile, there's no growling, there's no hissing. He's sleeping, Xongile is sleeping, so it's a very cool situation to see. And I'm glad that she's encountered another male leopard other than Tingana, and that he's been okay with her for now. Of course, it could be because there's food around that he's just distracted by that and couldn't really care too much about her. But it's cool to see that both of them are just sitting here. There's no growling, there's no hissing. Mvula looks as though he's very chilled, and so she's at least encountered her first other male leopard, as far as we know, other than in Tingana. But she's looking fantastic. She's all curled up in a tight ball because I think she's having a nice little nap. But there we go. You look very healthy, my girl. Now, the other good thing is that she's right near the lodge, which means she's been spending a lot of time here. The problem is with where we are at the moment, it is so thick and so dense. We're just very lucky that the leopard was sitting up in the tree, because otherwise to find this would have been really quite tough. And so we're lucky that she's here, and I wonder how long she's actually been here for, because we've seen no tracks of her crossing south, and the last time we had her was around Treehouse, and I wouldn't be surprised she's been around this area for the last few weeks. And that's why we keep hearing monkeys alarm calling from the lodge, but we don't find anything because of how dense and thick this northern section is. But it's fantastic news to know that she is around, and that she's healthy and she's fit, and that she looks just fine. She looks very sleepy at this stage as well. So, Lara Moore, you agreeing with us that she looks super sleepy? Well, she does, doesn't she? She's kind of curled up into this little ball, and she's got her head down, and she's kind of just taking it very easy. I'm sure she's pretty upset about the fact that she's lost this kill. I would hazard a guess that it can't be Mvula's, because we know Mvula was on that dead hyena yesterday, and so I'm pretty sure that this is her kill that she made yesterday, and now he's come in and been able to find it. I'm just going to move a little bit so that we can see if it is him. It does look like him, and I'm pretty sure it is. Hello, little Xongile. You're looking very good, my girl. Oh, it's always so cool when we get to see Xongile. She's one of my favorites. She's such a pretty little leopard, and you know, we've been sort of missing her because we don't get to see her as much as we would have initially wanted to, and so it really is quite nice that she's back and around. Now, Seb, I'm just going to position ourselves a little bit differently so we can see both of them. If you can just give me 2 seconds. Look at little Xongile looking up at Mvula at the moment. So she's kind of just looking up at him as if to say, please, can I come and eat? Now, Sally Jane, you say this is your first sighting of Xongile. Well, there we go. Aren't you impressed at how pretty she is? I think she's very beautiful. So I'm glad that we were able to show you little Xongile for the first time, the little princess of Djuma. She's been a little bit tough to find over the last few months, and so it's always such a treat when we get to see her, and that means that we've seen Hosanna this week and little Xongile, and well, when you have a week that's like that, then it can't get any better. But back to sleep she goes, and you can see, look at how she camouflages. We almost didn't see her. In fact, I was kind of off-roading, watching Mvula, and I looked down at the last second, and there she was, curled up at the base of the tree. But I'm going to turn around so that Seb can access both of these leopards fairly easily. So Seb, just hold on 2 seconds, because we want to be able to show you both leopards as and when. So Kobe, who's 15 years old. Kobe, you wondering, could they be mating? Well, Kobe, I don't think so. Xongile is a little bit too small for mating. Generally, they'll come into their first estrus cycle around sort of 2 years old, and we know that she's nowhere near that just yet. She's still quite young. I think it's more a case that she had a carcass, and Mvula has sniffed that out and then come in. And this morning, Taylor was telling me that last night she heard vocalizing for hyenas and leopard, and so probably what's in all likelihood has happened is Xongile was able to take her kill up a tree that caused excitement with hyenas, because we're not far from the den, and Mvula maybe was attracted by that and has come in and then stolen the kill. I highly doubt that they are mating. It would be something phenomenal if she was mating, because she's still small, and I doubt that she's coming into her first estrus yet. But she's so funny because she keeps just staring at the carcass as though, please, can I have some? Look at that. She's absolutely beautiful. Yes. Shame, girl. Did he rob you of your carcass? Well, don't worry. It's okay. And I'm just trying to see her stomach. It's difficult because she's kind of curled up, but it looks like she might have had a little bit of it, at least. So, Barbara, you're wondering when will Xongile start marking her territory? Well, that'll be a while still. Until she starts coming into an estrus and actually producing cubs, she's probably in all likelihood not going to be marking any territory at that stage. Until she actually has that drive to mate and to try and find an area to den, then she's not going to be having territorial sort of marking yet. What you'll find with her, though, is that she's going to be moving and shifting according to where the other females are. And this is an interesting part, that Xongile has come a little bit further north and is hanging around this northern area. I wonder if she's not felt the pressure of Tundi and Shadow from the south, and that's why she's shifted up into this section and is now going to hang around here. And that would be absolutely perfect for us. If we could get Xongile to be in this northern section, and then Tundi and Shadow down on our southwestern and southeastern areas respectively, it would be absolutely perfect in terms of a situation with female leopards. So hopefully she will start scent marking, but I would imagine it would be around sort of 2 years old that she's going to start really marking for the first time. Although in saying that, I did see Tiani when she was around the same age as Xongile already starting to scent mark, so it is possible. But you can see there's not very much left of that duiker, so for those of you who are a little bit squeamish, now is probably the time to look away. I know it's bits of red meat everywhere, but unfortunately this is how it works. You can see they've eaten sort of the midriff of it, and all of the internal organs have been taken out, and it's now just the back legs and head, and that's not going to last very long. In fact, I would imagine by the end of today that will be pretty much finished. But look at Mvula, isn't that the quintessential leopard photo or picture? Leopard lounging on a big tree, paws dangling down, tail dangling down. And it's so good to see this old boy. He's still looking fantastic. I would have thought that he would have been losing condition, but he looks as good as any. And he's going to have to be careful because he's right in the heart of Tingana's territory now. So Violet, you say you love the hanging paw. Well, yes, I think all of us do, because hanging paw generally from a long way away means leopard, and well, who doesn't get excited about seeing leopards? And we have Seb to thank. Like I say, he spotted it from quite a way away. So in fact, I actually had to kind of do a double take to make sure it was a leopard. So it was a really, really good spot from him.
Thank you, Chase.
It's a pleasure, Seb. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you're wondering why they're still together and you thought that they live alone. Well, they do live alone, so leopards are solitary creatures, but you will have situations where there is a food item like this, and like I say, Xongile probably was the one that caught this duiker and caught this food, and then Mvula has been opportunistic and come in, and because he's bigger than her, he's able to take over the carcass. Now, Xongile is waiting that if Mvula eats a bit of the carcass, oh, there's his beautiful eyes, look. I love his eyes. He's got the most fantastic sort of look about him. Seb, I'm going to try... Oh, no, he's going to go back to sleep. I was going to go forward a bit so we can get that branch out the way, but we'll try to do that just now. But what happens is that she's waiting that he might drop a piece of meat that she can then get in and still get some food out of it. So that's why she's still hanging around and why he's here. Now, she's just stood up. Oh, there's a warthog coming in. That's what Mvula was looking at, and Xongile has spotted it now as well. You see the warthogs just over there? So they're not far away as well. And both Mvula and Xongile have spotted them. Now, Mvula is probably not too interested, but look at Xongile. She's watching very carefully. And these warthogs, I don't think, have seen her. Now, unfortunately for her, the warthogs are probably a little bit large. It's particularly that big female warthog that's walking straight towards her. For somebody like Mvula, this would be something that he could really take on and would go after. But the fact of the matter is he's got a kill, so he doesn't have to worry too much. If it was just the smaller piglets, then little Xongile would have a chance. But those bigger warthogs are going to be a problem for her. They're about the same size as she is in terms of just the sort of bulk that they have. So it would be quite interesting. And I wonder if they can't smell something, because the warthogs are also being a little bit wary of what's going on. But this is very cool. You can see, look how she's watching. Her ears have flattened down quite a bit. She doesn't have her ears as perked up as what we saw earlier. But I think she knows that she's not going to have any chance. It'll be interesting to see, though, because what sometimes happens is the warthogs come in, and if they smell this leopard, they're going to chase her, and she might then have to climb up into the tree to try to get away from the from the warthogs. It's going to be interesting to see, especially this big warthog coming here on my right-hand side. So this one over there, and you can see the distance between the two of them is not very far at all. Now that warthog is going to, in all likelihood, give Xongile a big problem. You see, she's just